Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something many people take for granted: transportation. For people with disabilities, getting from one place to another can be one of the biggest daily challenges. Whether it's going to work, school, medical appointments, or just visiting family, transportation should be a right, not a barrier. Most of us don't think twice about how we get around. We get in the car, catch a bus, walk to the train, or call a ride service, and we go. But for many people with disabilities, it's not that simple. Transportation can become an everyday obstacle. It often means waiting longer than others, sometimes in unsafe conditions, without shelter, proper seating, or accessible platforms. It can also mean paying more, especially when public transit isn't accessible and private transport is the only option. Some people even miss medical appointments, jobs, or school, simply because there's no reliable way to get there. At times, it means being completely left out, isolated at home because the systems that are supposed to serve everyone are not built with everyone in mind. This is a hidden challenge that doesn't always make headlines, but it affects everything. A person's independence, their ability to manage life on their own terms, their dignity, being treated as equal and capable, and their opportunity to contribute, to connect, and to thrive. Transportation should not be a privilege. It should be a basic right for everyone. In many countries, public transportation systems are simply not built with everyone in mind. Buses often lack ramps or lower floor designs, making them impossible to board for people who use wheelchairs or walkers. Even when ramps exist, they may be broken, blocked, or the driver may not know how to use them. Train stations may not have elevators or accessible platforms, forcing people with mobility challenges to rely on others or skip the trip entirely. Taxis and rideshare drivers have been known to refuse service to passengers with guide dogs, wheelchairs, or other visible disabilities, sometimes out of bias, sometimes out of fear of inconvenience. The result? People are cut off from the most basic parts of life. They can't get to work, and so they miss out on income and independence. They can't get to school, and so their education is interrupted or denied. They miss healthcare appointments, risking their well-being, and they are left out of community and social life, creating isolation, frustration, and deep emotional harm. This lack of access isn't just inconvenient, it's a form of exclusion. And it sends a message, intentionally or not, that some lives are less valued than others. In rural or low-income areas, transportation challenges become even more extreme. In many of these communities, there is no public transit at all. No buses, no trains, no reliable rides. And even if something does exist, it may run just once a day or not at all on weekends. The roads are often unpaved, uneven, or poorly maintained, making it dangerous or even impossible for people who use wheelchairs, walkers, or other mobility aids to travel independently. Even basic things like sidewalks, curb cuts, or accessible bus stops are missing, turning short distance into insurmountable barriers. As for private transportation, like taxis or rideshare, they may simply not be available or cost far too much for individuals and families already struggling financially. In some cases, a single ride could cost more than a day's wages. This means people with disabilities in these areas can be completely isolated, unable to access jobs, school, grocery stores, doctors, or community events. It's not just about transportation. It's about freedom, connection, and equal opportunity. And yet, these are the places where the need is often greatest and the support the weakest. We can talk about accessibility without talking about equity. Everyone, no matter where they live or how much they earn, deserves a way to move through life with dignity. These barriers don't just make it harder to get from point A to point B, they limit lives. When a person can get to where they need or want to go, they begin to lose more than just physical movement. They lose freedom, the basic human rights to choose how to live, where to go, and what to be a part of. Imagine being invited to a job interview, but having nowhere to get there. Imagine needing a doctor, but the clinic is across town with no accessible transport. Imagine wanting to visit family, go shopping, attend a class, or just be part of your community, but being stuck at home, not by choice, but because the world wasn't built with you in mind. This lack of mobility leads to deep isolation, often causing people to feel invisible or forgotten. It can contribute to depression, anxiety, and loneliness. And it takes away the simple joy that most people take for granted. It also leads them to missed opportunities for work, education, social connection, and growth. Over time, it can chip away at a person's independence, making them reliant on others or forced to go without. Everyone, regardless of ability, deserves the dignity of choice, the power to move freely, and the right to belong in all parts of society. Mobility is not a luxury, it's human rights. We can and must do better. It starts with governments who have a responsibility to invest in accessible transit systems that serve everyone, not just the able-bodied majority. This means more than just adding ramps or elevators as an afterthought. It means designing transportation with universal access in mind from the very beginning. Transit staff must be properly trained not just in how to operate lifts or accommodate mobility aids, but in respect, dignity, and inclusion. Every rider deserves to feel safe, seen, and supported. Disability rights are human rights, and they must be enforced, not just written into law. That means holding transit providers accountable and ensuring public policies are implemented with care, urgency, and equity. But above all, people with disabilities must be included in the conversation from planning to implementation. Nothing about us without us. Their lived experience offers the most valuable insight into what truly works and what doesn't. And the responsibilities doesn't end with institutions. Each of us can play a part. Speak up when you see something that's unfair or inaccessible. Support inclusive policies and leaders who prioritize accessibility. Listen to people living these realities and amplify their voices. Share videos like this one to help others understand what matters. Real change starts with awareness, grows with empathy, and succeeds through action. Together we can build a world where no one is left behind, not at the bus stop, not in the workplace, not in life. Thank you for watching. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep raising our voices for a world where no one is left behind. Not at the bus stop, not in the workplace, not in life. Together we can make a difference. So please like, share, and subscribe to support this message and help it reach more people.